Welcome to my channel. I'm going to do the chain and sprockets on a Raptor 700. This is a 2020 model. Going to take the chain guard off. This is a 5mm Allen key. Now I'm going to knock the locking tab. There's a locking tab there and here. That one's bent, that one's a little bit bent onto the nut to stop it moving. This is a 36mm socket. Now I've got my foot on the brake to do this. Now I loosened that to make sure it wasn't going to get caught, because once I take the chain off it's harder to undo that. Now with the back sprocket, if I try and loosen it now, it is off the ground, it'll just rotate. Unless you've got somebody to put their foot on the brake or jam a rag in there, you won't get it undone. I'm going to let it down. I've got an 8mm Allen key and a 14mm socket. I'm going to take the wheel off so I can get the sprocket off. This is a 14mm. With the wheel out of the way, the sprocket can slide over that. Now because this is the original chain and sprocket, there is no joiner link. They're all press fit. So I need to grind it off. Make sure you have eye protection. That should be enough. Remember, that is still hot from using the grinder. Put that somewhere you're not going to lean on it, or end up burning yourself. There's the old chain out of the way. There you go. Back sprocket off. There's the new sprocket. These are both 38 tooth sprockets. So the standard size is 38 teeth. And I'm replacing it with a 38 tooth sprocket. Now that first one's not very tight. There's that one. That one's tight. Go around to the opposite side. That one's tight. That one's tight. And that one's tight. If you like, you can go around. If you like, you can go around and check them all, just to make sure. Yep, they're all tight. And when you take your front sprocket off, make sure you pay attention to what way it is on. Because sometimes they'll have a step on one side and not the other. This has a step on both sides. But this is the reason I am changing the chain and sprockets. One missing tooth, but you can see the rest of them are all starting to bend, which would be why that one snapped off. This is what I'm replacing it with. That is the standard sprocket. It's a 14 tooth. This one is a 15 tooth. And for a size comparison, the 14 tooth against the 15 tooth. And because the standard Raptor case saver is a piece of garbage, I've got this armadillo one. You can see the quality difference there. And because this has already started to rust a little bit, I'm going to put some grease on there. Just to stop the new sprocket from seizing on there, making it hard to get off. New sprocket on, just line it up with the splines. The locking tab. Just going to put a little bit of grease on the inside of that nut. Just to stop that seizing on there as well. So it's gone rusty inside. Now that is only finger tight. I'll make it a little bit tighter when I put the chain on. This is the chain. chain link and a little satchel of grease for the O-rings. That's the tightest I can pull that, and that is loose. That is why you need to adjust your chain before cutting it, because you don't want to cut it too short. Loosen these 4 bolts off. I'll have to use a regular Allen key to get into that one. Mine's also full of mud. Well, dirt, dried up mud. Just use a small Allen key to do that. Make sure they're all loose. Now to get this to rotate, there is a hole in the end. Just put a screwdriver in there. Just rotate like that. There, that's loose. Now it's tight. See how that chain, we've got the outer link and the inner link sitting there. The chain link will only go through the inner parts of the link. So how I've got that sitting there, it won't work. That will work, because once I take this outer link off, it'll leave that inner link behind, and that inner, with this inner, will work with that chain link. So beware of that before you cut your chain, whether you're using a grinder like I will be, because I can't find my chain delinking tool, or whether you're using a chain delinking tool like you really should. So now I will loosen that off. So that should be right about there. That should give it a nice bit of adjustment. Now I've got my eye protection and the grinder. If you're using the grinder, don't do it all at once like I did with the old chain. You don't want the O-rings either side to heat up too much. You will damage them. Now that's already getting warm. I'll let that sit for a little while. Also, while you're using the grinder, be careful not to hit your bolts or anything else. So that's warm enough now that I can still touch it, but I can feel that it is hot. It's not too hot to touch. You don't want to get too hot to touch. It will damage your O-rings. So I'll give that a few minutes to cool down, and then I'll go a little bit more. Now that's cooled completely down. I'll go a bit more. I went a bit much on that one. It's almost too hot to touch. It's almost completely cool already. Needs a bit more ground off of it. There it goes. The new chain link comes with O-rings and the grease. O-rings are in the bag with the grease. The grease is in its own separate bag. There's the link. Don't need that piece anymore. I'll just sit that there so it doesn't fall on the ground. The two links ready to join together. Most of these little grease satchels have a little spot where it comes down into. If you get your scissors and just cut across there, make sure you push the grease back first. Just like that. And that'll give a spot where it comes out. I've got 2 of the 4 O-rings. Bit of grease on the O-rings. It helps them seat into the little flanged part on the chain. And it also helps it seal on the link. I also put a bit of the grease on the links where it's going to come through from, so it helps drag that grease through the links on the chain. Just like that. Some more grease on there for the O-rings for this side. I'll rotate so they've got lots of grease on them. Do that to the both of them. Now with the link, you've got the side with writing on it, and the other side has no writing. The side with no writing is really flat. Put that towards the links, and the rounded side with writing on it is a little bit rounded. Helps it stop catching on things. Just give that some grease on the inside. This is only with O-ring chains. Regular chains won't have the O-rings to do this with. These are adjustable pair of pliers. Usually gives me enough pressure to get them together. But when you're putting the joining link on, put it on in the direction that the chain travels. So the chain travels that way, the drive is that way, so I'll put it on that way. That way if anything hits, like the chain, any of the chain guides like down here, if any of this hits the link, it pushes it on. Where if it's that way and it catches, it'll just pop it off and you'll lose that somewhere along the trails, and then your chain link will start to work its way out. And once this bit starts to work its way out far enough, it'll hit your engine casing. It'll tear a hole in your engine casing. No one needs that. So I'll put that on there. And that usually just pops on with a pair of pliers, making sure that it's sitting in the little holes, the little grooves it's got there. Now I'll put the wheel back on. They're all finger tight. Just doing these firm. Okay, they're all firm. Now I'll put it down. Now I'll make them tight. They're all tight. Now I'm going to tighten the front sprocket. Got my foot on the brake. Not going crazy tight, just far enough to get one of these locking tabs onto a flat of the nut. That was just from finger tight. Now I need to get this tab to start to lift up. Just use a regular screwdriver to get it started. Now I'm going to use a bigger one, push it down better. And that should stop that moving. Now to fit the armadillo case saver, which has on the back of it here that it will suit a 15 tooth. I've already undone that bolt and that bolt to take the chain guard and what Yamaha call a case saver out of the way. I need to undo this one. This one. And that one. All three of them are the same length, but the armadillo came with new bolts that are longer than the standard bolts, and that is quite a bit thicker than the standard useless rubbish that Yamaha put it out with. So they're the standard bolts. The two that hold the chain guard and the case saver, and the other three out of the casing here. So the replacement, you've got 3 long ones, 2 short ones. So the 3 long ones would be to replace the casing. And the other 2 would go in there. So the long one replaces the standard length for going through the casing, and the other ones are the same size as the standard. So I'll get a couple of these lined up first. Just by getting the thread started. They're all finger tight, and I forgot to mention that that also came with the all important decal. Everyone knows most good things come with a decal. Don't go doing these up too tight. You will end up pulling your threads out. That's why I'm holding it down close, not by back at the handle. I don't want to go putting too much pressure on these bolts. They all feel pretty good. Now I'm going to tension the chain. Find one of the holes around here and put something in there. I'm just using a large Phillips head screwdriver. and you can either use another screwdriver just to lever that on your axle, or use a crack bar. So just rotate it like that. If you go too far, you can always just lever it the opposite way. Seems pretty good. Don't forget to remove that. Then just tighten up these 4 bolts. And that'll hold your tension where it is. Then if your new chain stretches, just retension it. Most chains will stretch a little bit during the first couple of rides. Just keep an eye on them. Just keep going with these bolts, trying to get them all even. If you get one tight, the rest will go loose. So if you evenly tighten them all up, they should be good. Okay, they're all pretty tight now. But before you take it out, make sure you lube the chain. And now that I've done all that up, I did notice that is a bit tight, because as soon as you put some weight on it, that's tight as. So I will back that chain tension off a little bit and then just take it out for a speed comparison to show the difference with the 15 tooth on the front instead of the 14 tooth standard that it came factory with. So I'll just readjust that and I'll come back to the speed comparison. There we go, readjusted, just a little bit looser than it was. This is to get a speed comparison with standard chain and sprockets. This is first gear. I'm only idling. Holding the camera with one hand. This is in kilometers an hour. Not touching the handlebars at all. So that was first gear, about 8 kilometers an hour. Now I'll put it in second. About 11 or 12 kilometers an hour. This is the speed comparison with the 15 tooth front sprocket installed. I will start in first gear. Now I'll go to second gear. Hope this helps. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.